I'm delighted to be asked to contribute to the launch of the Fountain of Life by William Temple as part of the Northwest Cultural Partnership team and the Newgate Fringe Festival. A virtual book launch is not ideal, but circumstances don't allow for the launch of the book that it deserves. I've known William for over 40 years, but only really worked closely with him for the last 7 years. Although as a teenager, I worked for a while as a delivery boy in his chemist shop during the height of the Troubles in the 1970s. This book is a result of a long process that was initially dreamed of by William, but has been a team effort with the artists, fundraisers, funders, friends and family. The finished book is a personal vision of a man who has dedicated his life to keeping the local history alive and promoting the importance of preserving it through his creation of the Bob Hart Memorial Trust. For anyone that knows William, they could probably say that at times he is not the easiest person in the world to work with because he expects everyone to have his knowledge, drive and dedication. But if it wasn't for him and latterly his son Trevor, the chances are that a lot of the rich history of the fountain and local area would have been lost or rewritten by others without the intimate knowledge of the area.
Kennedy.
This series of paintings presented in the book, supplemented by William's own narrative, charts 100 years of the fountain and district history in a unique and personal way, and is a must-have reminder of the 20th century and the fountain's part in that story.
Clarence Place.
Hi everyone, my name is Eddie Doherty. I'm the area manager here in the housing executive for the city. I'm here today just to give a brief introduction as to the work that we have done here with the fountain, not only with the fountain, but also with the people of the fountain. We have invested substantially throughout the fountain in terms of the condition of our properties over the last 20 years, but more importantly probably what we also have been doing is working with the community leaders in the fountain and also funding the softer images that we have provided, like on the wall behind me. As I have said, we've invested in many of the re-imaging projects in the fountain, throughout the fountain, and also in the physical property. But one of the things that I'm here today, and the main thing I'm here today to talk about, is the production of Willie's book. Willie has been with the housing executive and the housing community network. He's been involved very much so with the housing executive for a period of maybe 30 to 40 years in the housing community network. I have worked very closely with Willie over many years, maybe 20 plus years, and Willie has represented this whole area. He certainly knows this whole area very, very well. He knows the history, and the history has been very well laid out in this book. We are the people who have funded this book because we feel it is an important contribution to the city. We feel it is an important contribution to the fountain, and we want to show Willie our thanks and appreciation for all of the years that he has been in our housing community network, bringing the issues of the fountain, raising the issues of the fountain and getting many of those issues resolved, to see what the fountain is to. I remember the fountain many years ago, and for example we had lots of voids in this area. Now we have very little voids and a more healthy waiting list for people who want to live in this area. And it's been through the work not only with the housing executive, but it's also been the work through the community workers and people like Willie, who has promoted the fountain very positively over many years. And it's really great for me to be here today as the area manager, looking around the fountain and seeing all the work that we've done and the progress that we've made over 20 years. And for us that has been a major step forward in this area. And by and large, it's great to see Willie's book. It's great to see the highlights of the fountain, the history of the fountain going right back to the 50s and beyond, right up until more modern days, and it's very interesting to read for anybody, and I would recommend that anybody would have a look at it. I'd like to say a special thanks to Willie for not only for the work that he's done over the 40 years of working for the housing executive, not only for the work that he's done in bringing those issues forward, but also for the production of this book, which highlights the whole history of the fountain, and we're very happy to be a part of that history and a part of this book and to be able to fund that. Thank you.
I first got involved in this project probably 4 or 5 years ago. It's when Derek and Mervyn down to the Thiepval Gallery and see some of my paintings. James Burton, who owns that Thiepval Gallery. Derek was asked him, could you recommend an artist? So he was saying, like, what kind of artist do you want, like? And so I had paintings of old Derry and around there, like. So Derek was saying, that's the kind of stuff I want. He says, we're doing a wee project up a fountain. Call up and see us, like. So I went up then, and Will was telling me all about what he wanted to do and about taking the different stages throughout the last century, living around the fountain, and I says, that's very good, it's the kind of thing I like doing. Like. So we gave it a go doing the first one. On the second one was the story of the Salvation Army walking down Wapping Lane here. So we brought it back up them in. They sort of blew him away, I think, at the time. Like I said, gee, that's brilliant and all. And he was going, I don't think we're paying you enough money in office and all this here kind of stuff. And I said, I don't worry about that there. Like, and he just took on from me. And we done our ones then, like I done all the yellow, like. And so right up, we've done them over 3 or 4 years, like. But you just have to start researching. Some of the information's here, like, you can still see that the factory's still there, the old fire station's still here, the Wapping Lane with all the old houses is still there, so a lot of stuff is still there. Like. It's just probably getting the figures, the people, and the paintings in, so you had to just research with the internet, so you get old photos. We've done the painting here, the old fire station. So we wanted the fire station come out the gap here. So Wally wanted the changeover from the horse-drawn cart one till the motorised fire engine and stuff like that there. So you just go through the internet and research all the ideas and get old photographs and stuff. Same with the Salvation Army one, just get old photographs of the Salvation Army back in the day and stuff. And some of our pins are easier because the one I done with the hands across the divider, that stuff's all there. So that was easy enough done them ones. Like just some of the older ones where you trying to get the figures more than anything, like, because I say all the building's still here. I guess go up and take photos and stuff and work around that there, like try and get them on the respective end, like do the make sure nothing's out of proportion, like. I try and use a wee bit of realism, like, you know what I mean. I'm not trying to impress now, like, I'm trying to get as figures kind of sharp as I can, like. They're all done in acrylic. Acrylic it's easier to use, like, and it dries quicker, so that's handier. Like you do them a lot quicker then, like.
Hello everybody, it's Eddie Breslin, Housing Executive Good Relations Officer for the West area. I have been working constantly over the last 10 years through the Good Relations programme, delivering projects and programmes at the interface and on the Fountain Estate, working with Kyle and Andrew and all the team up here at Newgate, doing the re-imaging here behind us. It's just one of the examples. And also we've been working with Wally Temple, who has been working with us since the Housing Executive was nearly born. He was been with us. Him and Alistair Simpson were familiar faces on a regular basis on the Housing Executive in Waterloo Place, helping to develop the area and to make improvements within the area, all encouraging people to support the Fountain Estate through a lot of troubles, as we're all aware of. But now Wally has come up with a book of the history of the fountain. He originally went for paintings that were in the Thiepval Gallery, and now he's going to develop a chronology book that tells you all about the history of all the images and what they actually stand for and what they mean for anybody that isn't familiar with them. Just like to say, Wally, it's a great book. I really enjoyed reading it, and hopefully it'll be a legacy for yourself, for everybody in the fountain, that they'll remember you for what you've done and what you've completed over the years. Personally, I'd just like to thank you for your help and support through the years with me and the Housing Executive, working in a lot of tight corners around the Fountain Estate. And good luck with your book, Wally.
Welcome to this virtual launch of the book, The Fountain of Life. My name is William Temple, and I'm here to perform this function. It's the second best option, as the original was scheduled for the Bishopgate Hotel on the 23rd of March. That was the day that lockdown arose because of the coronavirus, and I deeply apologise for this option that we have to perform here today. The origins of the book goes back a long time. It was brought out of the Triacs, who were set up as a partnership for 3 partners, the Bogside and Brandywell, the Craigan and the Fountain, and we were part of that partnership. So the origins of the book really started on developments that came out of that. They were to develop communities through various enterprises, and there were 2 enterprises that are related to the roots of the book. The Bob Hart Memorial Trust and the Fountain 65 Plus Club. The Triacs rented or leased property at the corner of Wapping Lane and Georgia Street, and they had it for 4 hours in the morning for a welfare centre for the Fountain area. They had a part-time paid worker, and in the afternoons and nights the 65 Plus Club and the Bob Hart used it for functions. The 65 Plus group had community activity and capacity building, and the Bob Hart had a research facility because at that particular time there were groups coming under the fountain. Originally the visitors coming under the fountain were only interested in the character of the fountain area, taking photographs of buildings and graffiti that had been on the wall. But when the organised tours started to come, they were more focused, and they were tourists and social research historians coming in to look at the characteristics of the people, and the characteristics that they would have been after would have been the culture, the mannerisms, the social and economic conditions, and the religious and political persuasion. So in order to do that research, to answer all these questions that were coming, the Bob Hart set up their centre here. The manager of Triacs, Kevin O'Carroll, then decided that it would be good if we had our own gallery to accommodate the walking tours of the fountain. So what happened then was he started to source funding so that we could buy a house and a derelict band shed that was at the corner of the Georgia Street and just on the same side. So that would have meant the two corners. The one at the corner that they had leased for community development, and now we would get a centre at the other end of the street. So he got funding from the Department of Social Development and European funding, and the Bob Hart was to get a third for the purchase and construction of this centre here now known as the Thiepval Gallery. It was to be used for people going on the walking tours where they could muster, use toilet and a cup of tea if they wanted it, and also shelter if it was wet. It was also to be used for workshops for the research, giving lectures and talks on the culture of the area and the heritage of the area. So those two organisations are really at the foundation of the book, because the 65 Plus had a facility for reminiscences, mental stimulation through reminiscences, and after a while they decided that some of the reminiscences would be about the heritage of the area, how they viewed the area themselves, and that was prompted by the questions coming through the tourists and the researchers coming into the area. So there was a lot of material gathered from these reminiscent classes, and they decided that it would be a good idea if they were to translate that into a painting to augment the plaques that were already attached to the wall of the gallery. The plaques give the full story of the fountain history during the 20th century, and the idea of the paintings would be that they would be didactic, so that they would complement the plaques. So they selected a theme. There was a small committee set up, and they selected the theme for the paintings, and there was to be one for each of the decades. An important theme of an event or something connected with community activity or heritage. So they used the material from the 65 plus reminiscence sessions, and they had ideas of what they wanted for the paintings. A small committee then sat down, decided what street scene an actual event would take place in, and they put down dots and notes and one thing and another of each painting where the position would be for people in period dress for that particular decade, and the street furniture the same. I am amazed that the artists were able to interpret from a bit of paper with dots and notes and come up with exactly what the people wanted. The skill of the artists and their insightfulness into what was being conveyed to them, you couldn't praise it enough. We are left with 12 paintings that are really, truly magnificent. There's 10 for each of the decades to complement the plaques, and there's 2 commemorative paintings for the occupiers of the site before the Bob Hart took it over. So we're left now with 12 paintings, and the people coming in for the tours and for the workshops, they were looking at the paintings and admiring them, but it was suggested that they need to be accompanied with a write-up. So I was tasked to perform that duty, to put together a few notes and one thing and another to perform this function. But I have no credible pretensions to being an artist, a historian or an author or a writer, so I had to rely on the gaps that I hadn't got. So the wife, Elizabeth, and the son, Trevor, filled those gaps, and eventually we got a script, and that was put onto a typewriter and then transferred to a pen, so that if we were going for funders or something, we had something to talk about. We got a photographer on, Darren Schieffer, and he took all the paintings and photographed them and then translated that onto a pen as well. So we had the pen of the paintings and we had the script on a pen, and we needed money. We had no money to publish the book. Linda Watson of the Con Nelson Drive Action Group and Derek Moore and Kyle Thompson of the Newgate Arts and Cultural Centre, they've decided that they would try and get funding for us, and they were successful. We got 2 major funders, the Honourable Irish Society and the Housing Executive, and the gap then of the cost would have been filled by the Bob Hart Memorial Trust. So eventually we got enough money for the publication, and Hive Studios were selected to be the lead in getting this book published. So they did the art design and set up the style of the book, and I must congratulate Joe McAllister on the good job he did of it. They were the lead partner with the money, and they then paid the proofreader and the printers. Derek and Kyle were behind the printing of it, and that they organised the style of the book and conversed with the printers, and eventually brought the books down to the gallery, so we have them now for sale. At the end of the book there's blank pages, and that's for notes and comments of their life or experiences in the fountain. So they could be residents where they could put their name and address and notes about what they felt about the fountain. And the paintings are actually didactic paintings to inform people looking for information about our culture and heritage. But as well as that too, they're evocative for the people who had resided on the old fountain. It brings back memories and feelings of the area, and some of those memories would be childhood days, and others would be thinking about the compassionate terraced houses that the people lived in. The people are very compassionate. But at a particular time, there wasn't much money around, and everybody pulled together. Unfortunately, there were other sad days too as well, because we had 2 world wars, and a lot of people were affected with them, as well as the riots in between the 2 world wars and the recent troubles. So there were sad times as well as happy times. But anyway, the book should be of interest to people who lived in the fountain. Not only people who lived in the fountain, but people who were employed or employers in the fountain, in the greater fountain area, or went to church or the institutions. So there's a lot of people who would have an interest in the fountain by the residents of the fountain. So they can make their own personal story about the fountain on the blank pages. Write-ups or attached photographs, so that it will be something that they could pass down to future generations of life in the fountain. I thank the people who will be publishing the books for giving us support and encouragement in the area that's now practically run down, and hopefully we'll get it brought up again to the standard that is acceptable to live in. There's still a lot of dereliction that needs tidying up, but the book should draw attention to the fountain, and hopefully we'll get something positive out of it in the way of a development in Wapping Lane, where there's a lot of dereliction.